Hello folks, welcome to API Test Automation with REST Assured tutorial. I am Faisal Khatri. In the previous video, we configured the Maven project to use REST Assured framework and added the necessary dependencies and plugins. We also learned about the demo application that we will be using in this tutorial. Let's learn about the following in this video. Verifying the response status code and verifying the response content type. Verifying the response status code. HTTP status codes are returned by APIs in response to the request sent. It is a 3-digit number that tells whether a request succeeded, failed, or requires additional steps. Let's move to the code now and see how we can verify response status code using REST Assured with Java. This is a simple code that sends a GET request and verifies that the 200 OK status code is written in the response. Like you see, the status code method accepts a parameter, a 3-digit number where we can supply the expected status code and verify whether the API is working as expected or not. Similarly, the status value can be changed to 201 while testing a post request, 204 while delete, and so on. But most probably 200 status code is returned in case of GET request. Put and patch might return 201, but most of the times they also return 200 status code. 200 stands for success. That means if an API is successfully hit and returns the response correctly, the status code 200 will be sent. So from 200 to 299 are all the success status code, which can be verified to just check that the API is expecting correctly or not. The pattern to verify the status code remains the same. After the .then method, we can call .status code to verify the status code, and respective status code number should be supplied here, the expected one, to verify that the API is working fine. There are two more approaches which can be used to verify the status code. First, we can extract the response using the response object given when get then extract response. So this will extract the full response, and from the response we can create a variable for status code. Since status code returns an integer, we can write the code as response.getStatusCode. So this response object has different methods, out of which one method is to verify the status code, like get status code, status line, session ID, and so on. So we can get the status code, and then we can perform an assert equals, where we can check that the expected status code should be returned in the response. And this is the actual status code. This actual status code will be the status code that will be returned in the response, and we are verifying that the 200 it should be equal to 200. Similarly, another approach is using the extract method itself, but here we can directly extract the status code and assign it to an integer variable. So this particular code given when get the URL of the get API, then extract status code, will extract the status code whatever that is written in the response, and then finally we can perform an assertion that the expected status code should match with the actual status code. So here we are verifying that the 200 OK status should be returned. Let's run the code now and verify the test. So you can see the test ran successfully and it passed. There are 3 different approaches here. The first one is the direct approach, where we are verifying that the status code 200 should be returned. Another one is we are extracting the response, and then from the response we are extracting the status code. And the third one is directly extracting the status code and verifying it using assert equals. So all of this approach passed successfully. Verifying the response content type. Validating the content type ensures that the API is returning the response body in correct format. To verify the content type in REST Assured, we can either assert it directly using the content type method in validation chain, or retrieve and validate it manually by extracting the content type. Let's check out the code and see how we can perform this using REST Assured. Like we did in the previous section for status code, similarly, we can use the direct chaining after .status code. So this is not mandatory to call status code here. We can directly call .content type. The only mandatory part is the .then method. After .then method, the response verification part begins. So we can call the .status code, or we can call the .content type. So we can use the .content type here and verify the content type that we want to assert. So here we are verifying in the response, the content type should be application/JSON along with char set equal to UTF-8. So this verification will be done. Similarly, the other two approaches like we did for status code, the same approach remains here. We can extract the response, and from the response, we can directly verify that the content type, response.content type should be application/JSON with char set UTF-8. This content type is ideally a string. So you can also do it like create a string variable and then perform an assert equal. Otherwise, you can directly call response.getContentType. The third approach is what we just discussed, like we can directly extract the content type given when get, then extract the content type that will be stored in a string variable, and then we perform an assert equals, like this is the expected value and this is the actual value that we extracted from the response. Similarly, you can also create a variable for the expected content type. Let's quickly run this test and check the output. And we can see the test ran successfully. One test passed. There were three different approaches. The first one, direct approach with the method chaining for verifying the content type. The second one, we extracted the response, and from the response, we verified the content type. And third one, direct verification by extracting the required field, like the content type, and storing it in the string variable, and then performing an assert equals. All of these three approaches have different usages. So if you want to perform further verification of the content type in other tests also, you can store it in a variable and use further in the other test as well. But it all depends how you want to go ahead and write the test. I've shown you the three approaches that are normally used. So it helps you while you are working with a framework or any other kind of concepts while writing the automation test. That's all for this video. In the next video, we'll learn how to verify response headers and learn how to log the request and response details. Thanks for watching.